Okay, so going over the work that was set the other day, to find 66 and 2/3% of a figure, it's helpful to know that 33 1/3% is just a third. And that's because it's 100 divided by 3. So 66 and 2/3 is the same as 2/3. That's the same as the fraction, because 66 and 2/3 out of 100 is 2/3 of 100. So if you know it's 2/3, that makes this a wee bit easier. All you have to do is divide 402 by 3 initially. So 3 goes into 4 one time, there's 1 left over. 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 left over. And 3 goes into 12 4 times. Then you would multiply 134 by 2. And when you multiply that by 2, you'll end up with £268. Question number 2, you've got to change it initially into top-heavy fractions. So if you do 1 times 3, that gives you 3, add on the 1, that gives you 4/3, plus 2 times 5 gives you 10, add on the 2 gives you 12 over 5. And then once you've done that, you can use a smile and a kiss method. So the smile for the bottom line, 3 times 5 gives you 15, 4 times 5 gives you 20, and 3 times 12 gives you 36. So 20 plus 36 gives you 56, and that's divided by 15. How many times does 15 go into 56? Well, 15 times 3 gives you 45, and then there's 11 left over, so it's 11/15. Question number 3 is all about substitution. So when you're substituting, if you can imagine that x is going to be replaced every time by -3, and y is going to be replaced every time by 2. So what I can do is, I can say that I'm still going to have my 4, then I'm going to multiply by 2 different things. I'm going to multiply by -3, and I'm going to multiply by 2. So I'm multiplying each of these together. 4 times -3 gives me -12, and -12 times 2 gives me -24, and that's my final answer. For this one here, I've got to do what's inside the bracket first, so I'm going to have 2 times my 2, because that was what y is replaced with. So 2 times 2 is going to give me 4, and then I'm going to square that. So 2 times 2 gives me 4, that's what's inside the bracket. Then when I square it, it gives me 16. Question number 4, I've got to simplify. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to collect like terms, and that's one of the exercises that you were doing last week. So 4p and 6p gives you 10p in total. I don't know if you can see that very clearly. Minus 2q and 7q is going to give you 5q in total. And then the only thing that's left over is going to be this -3 here, and I'm going to have that at the end. So I've got 10p, just go over that, 10p plus 5q minus 3. Question number 5, I have to solve, so that means I've got to find out what the variable is. The variable in this case is p, sometimes it might be x, it could be anything. So 7p minus 1 equals 13. The first thing I have to do is I have to get rid of this 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and when I do that I end up with 7p and on this side, and I end up with 14 on this side. Then to get rid of the 7 I have to divide by the 7, because the opposite of multiplication is division. And if I do that to this side, I've got to do the same to the other side. And that means I'm left with p equals 2. When I'm expanding brackets, 3 times p gives me 3p. 3 times -7 gives me -21. -4 times 2 is going to give me -8. And -4 times -x is going to give me +4x. 2a times 3 is going to give me 6a, and 2a times a is going to give me 2a squared. Question number 7. I was multiplying 123 by 15, Now you can either do it as two separate sums and add them up, or you can do it all in a house sum like this, if that's what they call it. So 5 times 3 gives me 15. 5 times 2 gives me 10, carry the 1 is 11. And 5 times 1 gives me 5, carry the 1 is 6. Then it's really important I remember to put in this 0 because I'm not multiplying by 1, I'm multiplying by 10. So 1 times 3 gives me 3, 1 times 2 gives me 2, and 1 is 1. Then what I need to do is I need to add them up. So I'm adding these two values together. 5 and 0 is 5, 1 and 3 is 4, 6 and 2 is 8, and 1 and 0 is 1. So the total is 1,845. 15% is a decimal. Well, the very term percent means out of 100, so that actually means 15 over 100. Now, if I was going to divide 15, and the decimal point, if I wrote the number 15, the decimal point would automatically be at the end. When I'm dividing by 100, the decimal point moves 2 places to the left, so it would be 0.15, because I'm moving the decimal point 2 places to get to the front here. So 0.15 is 15% as a decimal. Question number 9, 3 times 7 and 2/3. Well, first of all, it's handy if I can change this into a top-heavy fraction. So 7 times 3 is 21, plus the 2 is 23 over 3. And that's getting multiplied by 3 over 1. The easiest way I can write that as a fraction is 3 over 1. And when I multiply fractions, what I do is I multiply the top 2 and I multiply the bottom 2. So that's going to give me 69 over 3. And guess what? 69 over 3 is going to give me 23. In other words, what's actually happening is these 3's are cancelling. Now, question 10, if I've got 17,321 and I want to write that to the nearest 10, then I'd be looking at this number here. If this number here is 5 or greater, then this would round to 30. But it's less than 5, so it's going to round to the 20. So I've got 17320. To the nearest 100, I'm looking at this number here. And because 321 is closer to 300 than it is to 400, then that's going to round, and that's going to become 17300. To the nearest 1,000, I'm looking at this number here. So because this 3 is less than 5, that means this 7 is going to stay the same. If this was more than 5, it would round up to 18,000. But because it's less than 5, it's just going to be 17,000. And to round it to one significant figure, the most important number is the one that's furthest to the left here, because that's worth 10,000. That's worth 7,320 and 1. So the most important number here is this one here. And if I'm going to round that to one significant figure, then that would be 20,000. So let's look at how your marks would be allocated. You would have 1 mark for dividing by 3 and 1 mark for multiplying successfully by the 2 and getting 268. For question number 2, you would get a mark for your working, a mark for the correct answer, and a mark for putting it into a mixed number. So that's 3 marks for question 2. 2 marks for question 1, 3 marks for question 2. For question 3a, you would get 1 mark for this line, and then you would get 1 mark for this line, so that's 2 marks for this one. And again, you would get 1 mark for this line, and 1 mark for this line, so that would give you 2 marks for this one. For question 4, you would get 1 mark for this line here, and that would be for simplifying all 3 things. For question 5, I'm going to give you 1 mark for getting this line, and 1 mark for getting this line, so that's 2. For question number 6, I'm going to give you 1 mark for getting that line there. That's a 3p minus 21. I'm going to give you 1 mark for getting the minus 8 plus 4x. And this one here, I'm going to give you 6a plus 2a squared is going to give you 1 mark. So it's 1 mark for each of them. Question number 7, 1 mark for that. Question number 8, 1 mark for that. Question number 9, you get 1 mark for this and 1 mark for this. So therefore you're going to get 2 marks for question number 9. And then you get 1 for each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 marks for question 10. So the total is 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 and 4. The total's out of 23.